Good evening, and thank you for joining us tonight for our Village of Alsip committee meeting. Today's April 25th, 2022, and we'll call this meeting order at 7:31 p.m. Can you call the roll, please?
Trustee Dalzell?
Here.
Trustee Juarez is absent. Trustee McLaughlin? Here. Trustee Murphy?
Here.
Trustee Navas-Garza?
Here.
Trustee Peretta?
Here.
Mayor Ryan?
Here.
We have a quorum.
Thank you. Please join us for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay. Officers' reports, starting with mine. I could probably use what I had under my notes under petitions and whatnot. I've mentioned this the last few weeks. Please keep in mind that May 7th, they're having a mulch day at the Alsip boat launch, and they're asking for volunteers to come out and spread mulch at the new green space at that location on the west side of the village boat launch. Mike, I haven't got any other updates. Anything else they're saying about that right now?
No, it's the east lot.
You're right, the east lot, you're right. Anyway, we've got this beautiful green space out there. A couple hundred trees, Mike, are planted there now, all new ones, they're all skinnies. But they need some walking paths put in, and the Morton Arboretum, who is responsible for the grant to build that facility, is going to be out there with all the mulch. They're looking for volunteers to help push wheelbarrows and spread mulch and rake it and so forth then too. So please join us if you're available. Also, so that's on May 7th. May 14th, the following Saturday, we're going to have our village-wide cleanup that day. First off, too, the mulch day is from 9:30 in the morning until 12:30. The Alsip cleanup day on May 14th is from 9 until noon. And should you be interested in helping us, please report here to the Village Hall about 8:30, and we'll give you an assignment where we're going to be cleaning up from 9 until noon. That's on May 14th. May 16th will be a Monday night. We're going to do our student government night, and we've got high school students participating from District 218 schools. And last, I just made a point to keep bringing this up in case anybody else had any suggestions. I'll bring it to get a consensus next week on it so we can put it to rest. But the Morton Arboretum asked if the village would name the green space that was funded by the Morton Arboretum, and the recommendation I had was the Mary Schmidt Community Sanctuary. Again, Mary Schmidt oversaw the Village of Alsip Chamber of Commerce for over 40 years, and she still works for us right now remotely from Thousand Oaks, California, to represent the CalSag Enterprise Zone, where new developments and developers can go through her organization, the Enterprise Zone, to abate taxes for building materials to build these new structures, as well as get a discount on building permits and so forth then too. So again, we appreciate Mary's interest all these years looking out for our best interest, and I think it's only right we reciprocate and acknowledge her effort for the community. And that's all I had for the evening. Next, we had the clerk's report. Clerk Harding.
Thank you, Mayor. I have a presentation of the April 18th, 2022 board meeting minutes and a reminder that vehicle stickers go on sale May 1st. The Village Hall will be open Saturday, May 7th from 8 a.m. to 12 p.m. to purchase stickers in person. The notices are going to be mailed out, I believe, this week. You should be getting them, but if there's any questions, contact the clerk's office. And that is all I had, Mayor.
Is that the only Saturday?
It'll be the last Saturday in June as well.
And then, did you have a picture of that out yet, too?
I posted it in the packet. Yeah,
okay.
I mean, I do have it here. I don't know who didn't see
Oh,
the
no
packet.
worries.
But it's the boat launch with from Morton Arboretum, all the things that they had planted out there, what it will look like when everything grows in.
Nice picture, too.
Yes, it did turn out very well.
Yeah, thank you. We don't have an engineer this evening. We'll go to the public forum. Did anybody in the audience wish to address the board tonight? No? All right. Folks, did you want to say something to the board? Is that why you came out?
They're probably here under building.
Is that the fence?
Commissioner said you gave everybody a copy of this letter that we wrote, needing the variance
For the fence, yeah.
It's in
Yeah.
here.
Oh,
It's in the packet.
oh, it's, okay, that's for a, oh, under the building department. Okay, yeah, you know, sir, then we'll address that when we get to that on the building thing. Okay. Sure.
We have a microphone.
I was told, well, she sent me, a friend of mine.
Oh, I'm sorry, can you just talk in this mic? We record our meetings.
She sent me a phone number where if you have sightings of rats, that you can call a number and report it. So what happens when when we report these rat sightings to this phone number that was in, I guess, Alsip's paper?
Right, we had that in our newsletter, it just came out, right?
Yeah, that's what she apparently got the number, but it's like, once you call a number, what's the response once you speak with someone? Is there someone's going to come out to investigate or?
Sure. So you're calling, Rick, you had a copy of that, but, I just saw somebody over here had one of those copies, but anyway, you're calling the health department. We have a health inspector.
Okay.
So Linda Cavello is her name. Linda will come out and evaluate and see what the problem is, or speak to you or whoever it is that was calling, and decide what the problem is. We don't work on private property, but if there's an issue with public property, we can address the public property.
So this is only for public rats and not the ones that's on private property?
Exactly, right. I mean, we're not allowed to work on private property, but if there's an issue in the public areas, we can certainly address that. And if there's an availability to like bait it in any capacity, we do have a small budget for that, to have like an exterminator come out and take care of that.
Well, that Gallo and Weems is that, I think that they create rats only because that one house that's right behind, on Waller, the White House, right behind El Gallo. Now, I've already seen 2 rats that have been hit by a car. I reported one and they came and filled it up off the ground. But there's a third one that is smashed like a smithereen. I walked past it today. So I know that with their trash overflowing, that's probably creating a problem. I don't know if that's something that could be discussed. Oh, and this is another thing. That same house, the White House that's sitting right behind El Gallo, it reminded me today that I don't know if they have a drainage problem, but they have like a river, a pond sitting in front of their house. I noticed it today, but 2 weeks ago I took pictures of ducks swimming around in it. So is that something that, I don't know if that's a private problem, but it has, I don't know, it's just always, when there's heavy rain.
Yeah.
Like, this is not my problem, but it just so happens I walk by there all the time.
Right.
And it just seemed like that's an issue, it should be.
Mike, you know which house that is? Can we check, make sure that drain is clear?
I mean, not the rats, but I have taken pictures of the rats.
Oh,
but
right.
it was 2 weeks ago, but over the weekend when there was a heavy rain, the water cooled, a lot of water, and today the water is still there. I mean, it's not as deep as it was yesterday or Saturday, but I'm just, I guess, speaking on things that I don't know.
No, I get it. Mike, you know which house that is? Can you check it out and make sure that culvert's clear, that drain?
The culvert is collapsed underneath the driveways for the business there for El Gallo.
Okay.
So we're going to need that replaced.
All
Oh,
right.
that would be the property owner?
Yeah.
I thought that was a different.
That's all right, but again, we appreciate you bringing it to our attention. It's not like we see everything you may see. And I'm going to say Yvette, right? Thank you. Yeah. Yvette's wonderful. Yvette comes out every season. You're a very good, you're a great volunteer.
Yeah, we'll be out to clean up.
Yeah. Yvette came out and helped us the last couple of seasons. She actually did almost the whole Cicero Bridge. I had the other side, so did Dave, but you did knock out one whole side of the Cicero Avenue Bridge with us and stuff, Yeah. No, good seeing you, Yvette. I know I see you in the neighborhood walking all the time and stuff, too. But tomorrow I will tell Linda to double check for possible rats behind the strip mall there.
Sometimes that trash is overflowing in the dumpsters.
Right.
I think that's the problem, but it's coincidental. I've seen 2 dead rats, roadkills, in front of that house.
I understand. Okay.
And then down there's like one in front of the house about 3 doors down from that one. So I think it's
Right.
but it doesn't seem like it's enough.
Okay. Thanks, Yvette. No, I'll talk to Linda tomorrow about it, and then, Mike, like you said to me, if we have some sort of notice, we can give that people, those folks, I should say, to be responsible for that drain. Okay. Thanks, Yvette. Okay, very good. Let's go on to our standing committee reports then. Finance and IT, Trustee McGlawhorn.
First, I will have the usual list of payroll and accounts payable for approval next week. And then next, Joyce would like to talk to us about new contracts for both gas and electric with Santori.
Molly has been from Satori has been extremely communicative with me concerning the volatility of our electric and gas prices. And so tonight, we had an update today, and she said that prices are changing intraday, so throughout the day, prices are changing. So I wanted to give you the latest today, because what I put in the packet was from last week. Again, prices have changed. So we're going to print out an update on Monday if you are willing to engage in a contract. Our electric contract expires in September, and our gas contract expires at the end of the year. So,
And the sheet says electric expires in December.
okay, maybe I got it backwards. So gas is in September, electric's in December. So,
Yeah.
yeah. So the thing is that as we get closer to winter, of course, prices are going to go up. So we want to lock in sooner rather than later. And it's volatile. So pick a day and hope that it's all right. I mean, I don't know what else to tell you. I don't have good advice because it's not something that we can move instantaneously on. It's going to be whatever it's going to be, but I think we need to do it sooner rather than later. Because as you know, winter comes and prices go up.
So this looks like, obviously, it favors a 3-year contract with Constellation. And I think that's who we used to have, wasn't it? Is that who we're using right now, is Constellation?
We're not using Constellation now. No. Yes, it does favor a 3-year contract with IGS. Constellation is the provider,
Right.
but IGS is a supplier
For natural gas.
for natural gas. For electric,
It's Constellation.
it's Constellation. I apologize.
Yeah. Okay. And I appreciate what they're saying, because, like you said, nobody's got a crystal ball to know where this is going to be in another month or two then, too. And we do pay for this sales comparative, and is what they're doing. They're comparing numbers for us. This is the market that they practice in. I don't know of any other, I answered my own question. We're paying for the service for them to shop it for us, and they're recommending, like you said, IGS Energy for gas supply and Constellation Energy for electric supply. So,
This is only for finite locations.
Yes, it's minus, well, the solar farm properties are still involved in that when that solar farm comes on. So they would see some reduction on this with the electric. But it is our locations. I don't know, are you asking if this is a village contract?
No, I can see that it is, but with regards to the village properties, I guess what I'm confused about is that how we can have so many authorized for natural gas supply, but it's a very diminished amount for the electrical. I don't understand why
Because
they wouldn't be.
the residents pay for their electric at Heritage, and the village pays for the gas.
So these two heritage locations are maintenance facilities?
Probably. Are you looking at the electric?
Yeah, I am.
Yes. The three that are listed on the electric are the ones that are under the solar farm. So the Bank Drive and Gaslight Square are the three properties that are listed on the solar project. On the electric side. On the gas side, of course, it's the other heritage properties. I shouldn't say other, all of them should be on there.
Yeah. I'd love to know what 0 Loc 1 Northwest is.
Mike knows.
Of course Mike does.
0 Loc 1 Northwest. Isn't that
It has to be a section for streetlights.
yeah. I believe that is streetlights.
All right, Mike, what do we have at 5201 115th Street?
It's probably one of our streetlight control cabinets. It's a meter cabinet for designated launch streetlights.
Because I said, that's not far from your house.
It's Mike's house.
Yeah, what are you saying?
Free electric.
Down by condos over
Well,
there.
we got
Yeah.
11705 Kildare, that's the pump station.
Mm-hmm.
5201 115th Street, like Mike said. Maybe we can get a better,
That's in like Hazel Green Cemetery.
yeah, we can get a better definition of that, because I know some of these might be lift stations as well, too. The 4021, Mike, West 127th Street,
I believe that's the water. I don't think that's yours. I think that's water.
it's a lift station. 116th.
127, the Pulaski?
117.
Yeah.
Not 120? Okay,
11643 Kedvale, that was the pump station.
okay.
Lift station, right. And like Joyce said, you got 12319 Bank and 12420 Bank and 3840 Gaslight. Those are all heritage buildings that are applicable, or qualify, I should say. Now, we need to get some, like, I agree with you. What is 0 Loc 1 Northwest? We'll have to figure out that. And 4121 West 117th Street, that's pump station number 1. Okay. All right, I'll get some, before next week's meeting, we'll get some better clarity on what those addresses reflect.
And Joyce, do we have the history on the gas pricing? I mean, in the packet you included
Yes.
going back to 2008 on the electric, but
Well, that's what Molly had sent. I'm sorry. What did I do with it? Where's it at? She showed the electric price history from 2008 through 2022, and showed the price that we're paying per kilowatt and the change that has occurred. So the price has dropped dramatically from 2008 to 2020, basically, from 0.086 per kilowatt or per kilowatt to 0.043. So pretty much halved.
currently, yeah.
Yes, currently. I don't have any pricing on history for the gas.
Yeah, it's just my concern is that, I mean, this increase for 2022 through 25, I mean, takes us back higher to where we were in December of 2014.
What would you like to do?
I'm just commenting.
Yeah, it does.
And the recommendations in the agenda packet doesn't follow with what is in the paperwork that you distributed.
That is correct, because the pricing that we had a week ago has changed. So what you had on your desk today is current as of today.
Okay, thank you.
That's why it's different.
Thank you.
And it will be different next week, because we'll have new pricing next week.
Okay. Any other questions on energy? You know what, Joyce? Before we do this discussion on software, is that person on there right now?
He's not due to be on until 8.
Oh, all right.
Is this going to be significantly different from what we sat through last time?
No. And they are here to answer your questions, not to present, to take you through a demo. They're basically here to answer
I
questions.
think that's all we have, is just a couple of questions. And then, all right, we'll suspend that part, we'll come back to that.
Okay.
Can we get the fire committee report then, Trustee Murphy?
Yes, we have a discussion of increasing ambulance billing fees due to increase of costs by Chief Szynski. Chief?
All right. Good evening, everybody. I sent out two proposals on changes. One is a resident billing for $2,000 and one for non-resident billing at $2,200. And the second one is resident billing at $2,200 and non-resident billing at $2,400. One of the discussions we had 2 weeks ago when we talked about this is with the residents is changing it however we need to, but not to include balanced billing. That means if your, say your insurance cap is, $2,000 and our bill is $2,400 with everything out of it, we forgive the $200 that goes along with it because, again, it is a residence. So everybody has different insurance, whatever their caps are for ambulance billing, so that's what is kind of included. If you notice on the two handouts, at the $2,200 for residents and the $2,400 for non-residents, estimated would be an additional $91,000 per year. Again, that's based on an average of 40% collection, which is pretty close to what we're doing. And then the opposite is for 2,000 residents, 2,200 for non-residents. It's an increase of approximately $68,000.
Do you think that will cover what we're looking for?
Yes.
Okay.
Which
We're not, and just to be clear, we're not looking to make any money on this. We're just trying to recoup what it is that we're putting out.
Correct. We've seen over the last couple of years that we're having less and less supplies replaced at the hospitals. Our costs for supplies have increased dramatically. Obviously, every 3 years we try to purchase a new ambulance, so our ambulances are only 9 years old. Since we ordered the ambulance from last year, it's gone up $15,000 already with a new ambulance. It's just going to keep going up, and we just need to be prepared for that, and we need to get ahead of it. We were doing good all the way up to pre-COVID with what we did with increases and the 3% every year, which will still be in place, but now we got to play catch up a little bit because of that for the past 2.5 years. So my recommendation, like I said, it's up to the trustees on what you want to do. My recommendation is doing $2,200 for residents with non-balanced billing, and then $2,400 for non-residents. That's going to be my recommendation. And then last week it was approved for the attorney to modify the ordinance as we discussed.
Chief, on the first sheet you had, as opposed to the 2,200 and 24, you had 2,000 and 2,200. Is that just for conversation, or?
Yeah, that's what, when I spoke to our ambulance billing company, that's probably about the average where we should be at right now. I mean, it's up to you to decide where our rates have to be or where our rates should be. My recommendation based on what our costs are right now is the 24 and 22.
So, just for the value of the public, we YouTube all these meetings. Right now, the rates for advanced life support service is approximately $1,400, and the chief is proposing adjusting that rate to $2,200. Advanced life support 2, Tom, is that?
It's just a category and how it's broken down with what is used on calls, if you will.
All right.
So, and that's something that's created by Medicare.
And again, that's at almost $1,600 now. Again, Chiefs recommend an adjustment to $2,200. And basic life support right now is just short of $1,100. And again, you're just staying uniform, everything at $22.
Correct.
That's for residents.
Correct.
Non-residents, it's an additional $200.
Right, and then again, the balance billing is the difference between what your insurance cap is and what our bill is. So again, we're not hitting residents with more of that, any more of the billing, what their cap is.
Chief, do you get a lot of requests for like hardship scenarios too, or?
Maybe a couple a month at the most. It's not a lot.
Just want to be fair to folks, that's all.
Absolutely, and we don't want it to deter somebody from not calling us either because of they might receive a bill, and we explain that when people call us.
Exactly, you make a great point. You know, you don't want people not calling you.
No,
because,
no,
fear of a
absolutely
call.
not.
I just don't know how comfortable I am with the increase in the BLS rate. I mean, basically, we're more than doubling that one, and as you just said, I mean, they use less supplies. So, I mean, just personally, I would think that one should continue to be lower.
One of the things we have to do every year because of the GMT is our cost analysis. And again, taking everything that we talked about last time, not only the cost, supplies, but our vehicles, our personnel, and our stations, our actual cost, if you break everything down, is actually $2,700 per call. So we're a little bit less than that. I mean, obviously the stations, I mean, it's depreciation and same thing with personnel. Personnel's personnel. And we see our increase of personnel costs go up every year also. So it's all kind of ties together. So like I said, that's my recommendation. It's up to you on what you want to do. I'm just bringing something forward to you, and then it's up to you to decide where you want to go with it.
The resident rate is also inclusive of those who are employed within the community?
Yes. Yes.
Trustees, unless there's, we'll put this to a vote next week for approval, unless anyone has any other recommendations here. No? All right, and Chief, or Trustee Murphy, rather, you want to include that in your packet for next week, please?
Yes.
Okay.
And next we have Chief Szynski to discuss establishing an ordinance for the storage of lithium-ion batteries. Did we
Right.
not discuss this about 6 months ago?
Around there, I brought up the idea about creating an ordinance to get ahead of it, and I haven't done that yet. So this is what this is. We, between Tom Leah and Joe Schmidt, they've been working over the last couple months trying to get good information out there between what happened in the Morris factory fire back from last August, I believe, what we believe the International Fire Code is going to look like in the next couple of years, and what any NFPA standard is going to look like in the very near future also. So that's what kind of took so long, and there's nothing else out there in the codes right now, and that's why it kind of took so long to put together. But the ordinance, the proposed ordinance, is based on what we believe is we're going to see in 2024 for the International Fire Code. We've had a couple other consultants look at it, and they thought it was a very well written proposed ordinance to address the issues, to try to avoid what happened in Morris last year. And there's a few other issues that are out there. With the big push of all this clean energy out there, we're going to see a lot more lithium batteries that are out there. We're seeing a lot more electric cars. We're seeing a lot more battery-operated cars. It's just going to increase, and I want to get ahead of it so we don't have a same issue that they had in Morris last year, or recently what they had down in outside Indianapolis with the Walmart warehouse distribution also, because we meet the criteria for some of our warehouses with the size in our town. So we're just kind of get ahead of it a little bit and hopefully prevent that from happening. Any questions on the proposal at all?
I mean, is this going to affect businesses like Home Depot?
No, no. It does not, it only affects warehouse storage. You look at Home Depot, and Home Depot has little packages of lithium-ion batteries. They don't have bulk storage, if you will. So the criteria that's in here, they don't have that kind of amount of storage in bulk lithium-ion batteries over here.
All right, thank you.
Any other questions?
No, but like the trustee asked, Chief, we're not encroaching the businesses that much with this idea into.
No,
Okay.
we're trying to provide an opportunity that if you're going to store batteries, that's great, but we wanted to have it separated in other parts of your warehouse, if you will. We want to have barriers in between, so we don't have everything in one together. And once something starts with thermal runaway, you're not stopping it. And we want to have that barrier, so if they do have bulk, and I think most of it's like the size of a 5 square foot or whatever, and whatever the height is, that we have separations in between, so we're not going through what they went through last year.
Okay,
And creates a huge issue.
all right, thank you. Anything else, trustee Murphy?
No, sir, that's all I have.
All right,
Thank you.
all right. Let's go to the Police and Traffic Safety Committee, trustee Dalzell.
We have the presentation of the March 2022 Police Department Monthly Activity Report, and then also we have the request for approval of an ordinance which amends Chapter 16, Police, Article 4, Police Department, by adding a Section 16-74, part-time police officers to the municipal code of the Village of Alsip, and Chief is working presently with the Finance Director on a salary which will be proposed the same time we do the salary ordinance. Anything else, Chief?
No, we discussed this at budget, and something we're trying to get up and going before summer, just to help out with traffic complaints and stuff of that nature.
Chief, I'm familiar with it, but just so the board is too, how much do you think about utilizing the part-time folks? Do you know yet?
We have 4 in the contract, and there is a certain amount of hours they can work per year, according to state law.
Maximum.
Maximum. And, it's a part-time position. There's no real benefits other than the pay. And we're going to be using them for traffic enforcement, traffic accidents, prisoner details, such as when we have a prisoner at a hospital, rather than having one of our full-time guys tied up on that sort of stuff. Hopefully, we can utilize this position to kind of keep our full-time guys on the street.
It's amazing. I was at Palos Hospital back around Christmas time, down there ER, and they had a patient there that needed to be looked at after, I should say, and Palos Hills had one officer after the next coming in to take his turn. And as you said, you're taking an officer off the street that's supposed to be protecting our community at the same time. So that'd be great to have some like a part-timer available to handle those type of responsibilities too. So, yeah.
The only thing I would like to bring up on this topic, in Section B of the proposed ordinance, we need some grammar cleanup.
I'll get in touch with the attorney. He's got the clean copy, and I'll just update it with the clerk.
Sounds good. Trustee Murphy, I was just going to say the same thing when we at that last report. I can send that over to you, to our attorney. I was with him today on some other matters yet too, about telling him to fix the ordinance that we just talked about. Okay.
Great.
All right. Anything else, Trustee Dalzell?
That's all I have, Mayor. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Chief. Public Work and Boat Launch Committee.
No report tonight, Mayor.
I was going to say, that one's you.
Mike, the tree pruning looked like it was going really well with the Desiderio. Are they done?
So they're continuing with the removals, they're going to be working on the stump grinding next.
Okay.
So we expect them to be done in the next couple of weeks.
Okay. They took out a couple of pretty good-sized trees around the neighborhood, too. I was watching them, I think Thursday night. They were out there kind of late moving all those big trunks around, that kind of thing, too, right?
Right across the street?
Huh?
Right across the street?
Oh, yeah, the gentleman right across the street from the Village Hall, he lost a big one that was out there and stuff, too, so really opened up his house. It's like my wife, she hates trees, and we should be like on an island somewhere, all the trees are gone and stuff, too, you know. Well, thank you. Anything else, Mike, too? Okay. I know the Christmas tree is gone finally. I know after the weather broke and everything. I'm sorry it took that much. Obviously, this is a weird spring, with the cold weather and stuff yet, too. So we got rid of that. Yeah. And I shared some information with Mike and Will the other day. We're looking at some more opportunities with some help from the state and some motor fuel tax money and stuff then, too. So hopefully that comes through. Okay. Next, we had the sewer and water report. Trustee Navis Barza.
Thank you. I had asked the board to reconsider utilizing or to purchase the Brightly software, and we do have the individual, I believe, online. And Commissioner Triben at a previous meeting provided some comments as to why or how he would utilize the software if we were to move forward with it. I guess if we can transition to the finance item that we kind of skipped over, because we did put it under finance, but I did bring it up, so I'm not sure if how we transition. But I don't have anything else to talk about.
Oh, no.
They're all on.
No worries. Let me take care of some business real quick. We've got a couple folks in the audience. We can let them go, and I'll come right back to that, okay?
Okay.
Okay. Next is the, anything else, Trustee?
No, that was that.
Then we'll go to Building and Health. Trustee Peretta.
Thank you, Mayor. I have a discussion to approve a fence variance for the property located at 12433 South 44th Court in Alsip, Illinois. And I do believe, do we have Mr. and Mrs. Webb available? Okay. Would you mind coming up and kind of give us a brief overview of why you are seeking board approval for this variance? I believe, Mr. Webb, you are looking to install a fence on your property?
Mr. Webb, we actually record all of our meetings. I would just ask you if you'd speak into a microphone, that's all.
And kind of give us a brief discussion on why you need this fence on your property?
First of all, for safety and liability concerns for the community and ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
We've got a 82-pound plus Siberian Husky, and we live on the corner of 125th and Tulsa, which cars speed them down the street. You have mothers walking their babies up and down the street. We're on the corner where the bus stop is at. You've got a church across the street. You've got the Pollock Center there. And for us, it just makes sense to have a fence that protects the community and us from the liability that could happen if something happens, okay? The fence that we're proposing is a 5-foot aluminum fence. It looks like the fence at the cemetery, the Borough Cemetery. It's open. We propose to run a 45-degree angle from the stop sign towards our property line, and then that way it won't obstruct the view of people stopping at the stop sign. Okay.
All right, very good.
So that's our biggest concern there. We've been in the community, or I've been here for quite a while, but Life family is from the community since 1963, and they're still there. Our house faces 125th. Our address is on 44th Court. Go figure. With that's what we're asking. We had talked with
Roger.
Yeah, Roger. Early, and he said that he would talk to the board members and see whether or not that situation would happen, because I guess the ordinance would say you couldn't have fences over 3 feet high, but because of his size and his energy, the dog that we're talking about, it's just for safety concerns in general, and again, we're only doing a part of the property where he's inside. The fence is 5 feet high, and again, you have the students, you have mothers with kids, bicycle riders,
okay.
The schools that run their track teams and what have you. I mean, it's a heavily trafficked area, and we just want to be in compliance, but we also like to be safe.
Right.
So that would be our proposal. I mean, I can show you a picture of what the fence would look like.
No, it says in here, I was just looking, you got your plot of surveys included. We can all see it on our computers here. And, no, you're going wrought iron, you're going 5 foot tall, which will look great. And you're just, instead of coming to a 90-degree and costing 125th, you're going to break it on a 45-degree angle and make it a soft corner, like in a way.
east on 125th Street, when they stop at the stop sign, or as they're approaching, no one can, nothing's blocking their view.
Right. You can at least see through the wrought iron and so forth, yeah. Okay. And certainly, I don't have a zone book with me, but you're going to go through all that with our inspection department anyway, to make sure about any setbacks and whatnot. Did he say anything about that? Does that have to be set back at all, Mr. Webb? Did Roger say anything about that?
Well, yeah, I mean, what was stated was most of the ordinance says that the fences can't go past the front of the house.
Right.
But that would cut the property in half, and we still have all of our property still open. And then we don't have the right of using the property to our full extent. So, I mean, that's a concern.
I see what you're saying. That's the variance.
In addition to that, excuse me, in our neighborhood, and as I walk the dog through the whole area of Alsip, I see people who have 5-foot, 6-foot fences, and they're on the corners, and then they have their fences coming right up to the property line or the sidewalks. And then I said, well, if this and that, why is it that we can't do this but stay in compliance with what's going to be safe for both the community and us as residents?
And so there are very definitely many corner houses in your neighborhood. Like you said, that the fence does come all the way out to the sidewalk, and is it with the corner lots, and especially with the way your house is turned. Like you said, it's kind of sideways. If your house was facing the other way, this would be your backyard.
Yes.
And then you'd be fine. But because, like you said, the address being what it is where the problem comes in. My two biggest questions would be in terms of the way you have the angle there at the corner. So I'm hoping that goes inside then the utility box that's there on the corner?
Yeah, that'll be probably 8 to 10 feet, 12 feet from that.
Okay, we just want to make sure that the utility box is not enclosed in the fence. And then the other part as well, because it's very difficult to tell from the drawing, but there's a street light right there on Costner, and then there's another utility pole, and I just want to make sure that the fence is going to be inside of those poles as well.
Yeah, because you've got the easement that's out there.
Right.
And so that's probably 8 to 10 feet, and then you've got our property, and then it's not going to be anywhere near that.
Okay, but as I say, you just can't tell how big, what the distance is on that, and I just wanted to make sure we're not covering up the utility poles.
If you drove by, you would be able to see how it would angle correctly.
Okay, yeah, no, I was actually there earlier today.
Oh, okay. And I mean, we're gonna make sure that when we have the people come out with this up, we're gonna make sure that they follow it the way that it should be, so that everybody else is happy with what's happening.
Sure. So again, the variance, everybody is not just the height, but it is working with the lot line instead, regarding that and the setback. So it's the lot line we're looking at. Okay.
We'll make sure that, I mean, we're in compliance with whatever the village needs. That's what we're willing to do. We just want to be able to make sure again that the dog's safe, community's safe, and then we don't have to experience liability of him biting someone.
Okay.
And then,
They have teeth, you don't know whether they're going to do some kind of, and he likes lunch. We just want to make sure that if we can put up the fence we'd like to, and then that way everybody else is comfortable.
You know, I think I've seen your dog sitting out there a few times on his own, you know. And obviously he's on a rope or whatever in case maybe, but yeah, I've seen him out there kind of holding court by himself and stuff out there, so, you know.
And one other thing is, we put up a 4x4 pole and had him hooked to that, and he took off and he snapped the pole.
Okay.
oh, wow.
So again, I mean, you get out the door fast enough, he gets the
Yeah.
golly, he's a nice dog, but he likes to lounge.
Okay. Okay. He looked big enough. You could probably control him with like a sandwich of some type, right? Well, you figure out there was a PB&J, and you don't want that and stuff then too. So
Make sure it's a steak sandwich.
yeah.
Anything that you guys decide to do, we'll keep in compliance.
Well, Mr. Webb, one concern, I don't know if this should be a concern. You're enclosing a 10-foot public utility and drainage easement Would that be a concern by enclosing that in your yard?
No, as long as they can still dig to it
long
and
as they
stuff.
got
As long as
access
as long as you don't build over it is the whole thing. A fence is one thing, but if you put a structure over it, that's a different thing.
Okay.
Yeah.
Very good.
All right, we'll put it to a vote next week to Mr. Webb and get you going and stuff too, okay? Okay.
All right.
Thank you.
Thanks for coming by.
Mr. Webb, if you could sign in on the chart there, we'd appreciate it.
And you folks, you feel free if you want to leave. You don't have to sit for the rest of this if you don't want, yeah. All right. We'll go back because we've got the folks on from Brightly Software, so let's go to them.
So we have a request for discussion for approval of Brightly software for work order processing and infrastructure maintenance. Take it away, Joyce.
Can you folks hear us?
We can.
Okay, you're in. So the board has the the handouts for the newly named company called Brightly Software that was known as Dude Solutions. The product, and William, you can correct me, has not changed from the last time it was presented. And so what I would like to do is open this up for questions from the board to Brightly so that they can answer any of your concerns.
Perfect. Hey, Joyce, would you like us to also present at this time, or are we only fielding questions?
You have 5 minutes.
Perfect. Okay. Well, first of all, we appreciate the opportunity to talk. We've been the leading operations tool for local government now for about, 10 years, and we've been in the field for 21. We actually work with Oak Forest, Hickory Hills, Homewood, Western Springs, Richmond Park, and quite a few park districts. So we're here today really to cover what we've been talking about with Joyce and Mike, Roger, and everyone else about accountability, visibility, transparency within the departments. And this is an opportunity for you to ask any questions for us. I have my colleague here, John Hunt-Lane, so we can field any questions or concerns that you have.
Go ahead, Trustee.
Pricing?
The contracts are in the packet, and so there's 2 sets of pricing. One is for the enterprise solution, which is for for all departments, every module. I shouldn't say all departments, every module. And then there's pricing for 3 modules, which we initially have picked like facilities, water, and sewer. Or water, help me, William. Water?
Water and everything under Mike, which is the streets, road signs, bridges, everything that kind of falls under his jurisdiction would be that third one. So water collection and wastewater, facilities, and streets.
Well, just a second, I'm getting to the proposals. So the cost for the enterprise solution, and I apologize, I'm trying to get it in front of me right now, is for the enterprise solution would start on June 1st, end date would be April 30th, so it would coincide with our fiscal year. And we would receive discounts, but the first year would be $13,868.71. And after that, year one total,
Well, there's the professional services and consulting on top of that.
so we would incur an additional $24,000, is that correct, William? For that enterprise solution on top of the 13?
And I think it's 24 total.
Mm-hmm. It's 24 total.
Okay.
And you would have the renewal, which is on the second itemized page, and it would actually show you what your next 4 years would be.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
So roughly $22,000 is what it would run us every year after that. That is for the enterprise solution, which includes all modules. If we go to The Pro solution, the year one total is going to be $19,552, and the year 2, year 3, year 4, year 5 is going to run between $14,000 and $15,000.
Trustee Dalzell, did you have a question? Was this one of those situations where we were talking about interfacing with software and stuff like that?
It's fine. Afterwards, I had talked Mike and Dan, and they had enlightened me on the software and their use.
Okay.
So,
I know what it was. It was the GIS
right.
Scenario and stuff then too. Okay.
So, William, can you speak to the GIS interface?
Actually, what I'll do is I'll pass that over to Elaine, and she can answer any questions that you have pertaining to GIS. But yes, high level, I can tell you that we will connect with your GIS. So all the layers that you have created at this time with ARC or Esri GIS will be shown within our system, and any attributes that you currently have, and you will be able to tie work history to the asset themselves.
What about updating those? Updating Ezra.
So just like you would be doing at this time, you would continue to update your Esri, and it would reflect within our system, and it automatically pushes that information through as you update it.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
What about interfacing to GLs? In particular, BSNA, which is what we're kind of looking at. We certainly haven't gone out to bid yet.
Good question. So would they have an open API? We also have an open API. Our two systems would be able to communicate with each other. If you had someone within your IT that wanted to connect it, if you wanted, we could provide a tool for making those connections. Depending on how robust you need that to be, we actually have a third party that would manage those services for you, and it'd be a continued service. So we have a lot of different options as to how that can be addressed.
And that's called spatial DNA, right?
Correct. Spatial DNA would be would manage whatever you decide to go with, but we also have a tool that can push information. And we would just want to understand what the scope when you got to that point would be, so that we can address it with you depending on how you want to go.
Just a comment that I have then, no one has any other questions. The reason why I asked for the board to reconsider is just in conversations that I had with some of the department heads, then also when Commissioner Triban had mentioned he has a lot of data in Excel sheets, just I think up to 20 years almost, and also the accountability factor, as was mentioned right now in the presentation. I didn't catch his name, I'm sorry. But the citizen portal is one component of this software. And just like Yvette came up and shared about the rat issue, I myself, on my way to the board meeting today, saw a dumpster overflowing from an apartment complex, and I've mentioned this before on a number of occasions. So I took a picture, but it'd be great to have, the citizens have that ability. One day I won't be a board member on this board, but I still want to know that things are being addressed and that, issues are trying to be resolved. And this software, I think, would help facilitate that as well. So I think that, there's 19,000 residents. Of those 19,000, those that have smartphones, and instead of going to Facebook to perhaps address issues there, they now have a portal or system that they can go real time, and then department heads know of the issue, whereas it just goes on and on and on, and it goes unresolved and so forth. So it allows our village to be responsive to issues as well.
I think when I spoke with this organization, a couple of months ago, I think what really captured my attention was the ability to capture data and obviously bank it as such that we can actually grasp that in the field from a cell phone or tablet or whatever without having to manually come back here and dig through paper archives and so forth yet too. I mean, the day will come when we have a change in leadership in the field, and you may not have the water commissioner out there, or even maybe the public work director might be on vacation or whatnot, and you've got a foreman that's out there, and he can actually look down at a phone or a tablet and know that, okay, we have a water main break at the corner of 116th and Kedval, and 10 feet away, we just fixed one, 6-8 months ago. So when we go down to look at it, we need to maybe look at more than where I'm at here. We might have to go 12 feet north and not throw Band-Aids all over the place and redundantly do some work in one spot and not address the whole problem. And I think with that data that we're going to have access to, I think it'll be a benefit to the village, to that department especially. But that's just one example. But there was quite a bit of that, because I did ask both Superintendent Frater and the water commissioner as well, what are you doing in some different, we had a few examples, and that's we have to go back to the office and dig through some records to find it, and we're trying to get away from it. In today's technology, accessible life that we live in, we got to have access to that kind of thing. And now more and more, Mike, even your trucks, you guys are putting tablets in a lot of these trucks now then, too?
Yeah, we're starting to.
Yeah. And so between you folks and the water department, and I'm sure even with the building department, too, as Roger showed the same interest, we can do those kind of things then, too. Especially if, one thing that's always had me for a long time is, say, for instance, I'll just give you a quick example. Let's say the building department, with regarding health. They might roll up on something and see something that was wrong or needed to be addressed, and they want to write a citation. It would be great to know if they had more data in front of them to know how often that's been cited for that and everything then, too. So we're not, again, tripping over ourselves or maybe looking bad in the eyes of a hearing officer to say that we are pursuing something that's already been pursued. And, again, data-driven products like this can help us.
Yes. This tool also has analysis capabilities so that you can futurize and look and see what's coming up that you should be fixing. Not only our history that has, there's a ton of that, but to look into the future. If we put a pipe in 5 years ago, how long is it good for?
Right.
So that we can start to see how much our capital improvements should be costing us.
I've seen it in the 5 years I've been here. I've seen it happen a few times where we've done some major repairs in one spot, and we almost should have been moving 20 feet to the north to do a little more of the same.
So Joyce, I have a question. Who's the gentleman I did on? Is that William?
William Winslow?
Yes. William, are you the only company across the country that does what you do? And what I'm trying to get at, do you have competitors out there?
Oh, there's tons. But we're the only one that does what we do, which is not only day-to-day operations, but we work with communities around their event management, their energy, their strategic long-term capital planning. We do it all across the world, but we do what it boils down to true asset management. And everything we talked about, from citizen engagement to making sure that when there's a complaint or request that comes through, you're going to be able to get that information and pass it along, delegate it, and get that information back. And shoot, I didn't even mention community development. So we also work in permitting, code enforcement, planning, zoning. So we're not really just a one-stop shop for asset management. We want to work with you as a partner for the long term, and hopefully be able to help you with many different facets.
Okay, so for example, now let's say if your company gets acquired or goes out of business, how do we get our data out of your system? Is there a charge? What format is that data exported as? Do we have access to that data?
Of course, it's your data. At any time, we work with AWS, Amazon Web Services, and they store it for you. So it's not sitting on your servers, but at any time you can download this. But honestly, if you decided for some reason to walk away from us in the future, the data is yours. We're going to give it back to you. Or just it's yours. So we don't even have to give it back. It's just yours.
Okay. Have you ever had a data breach?
If Amazon had a data breach, it would be a massive concern. And it has not happened to this point with Amazon, and no, it has not happened since we've been in the cloud for 20 plus years.
Okay, very good. What is your uptime SLA? You're guaranteed do you guarantee a certain level of uptime?
That may be a great question for Elaine. Elaine, can you hear me?
Elaine looks frozen.
Yeah. Could you repeat the question? That's the reason why is because I wasn't entirely sure what you meant. Maybe John, could you help me out with this one?
You need me to repeat the question?
Yeah, I'm just somewhat confused about the question.
About your service level agreement, I mean, do you guarantee a certain level of uptime on your service level agreement?
Yeah, I mean, yes, we really don't have downtime within our system. If we make updates or anything like that, it's always pushed out at night, and I'd say it's like 99%.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Sorry, my audio was going in and out for some reason. Our uptime is over 99.9%. So we are very strict in our adherence to having the system as current and as operational as possible. So we've got all sorts of protocols in place. We've got backups for our backups when it comes to different service providers that would come in. Say if there were a service outage or power outage, we've got different power sources lined up to be able to come in and provide the services that we would need to keep everything up and running. And we do have documentation on that we can provide to you that specifies in even more detail what those processes are. But it is over 99.9% in the uptime range.
Very good.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Also, do you have multi-level? Here, let me repeat this question. Do you have multi-factor authentication? A multi?
So
Yeah.
We don't have multi-factor authentication. We do provide single sign-on through SAML 2.0 compliance.
Okay. If we were to sign a contract, is it written in the contract, or would it be written in a contract, that you will not sell or share any information or analytics to any third parties?
Yes, there is documentation in the contract about your data and how that would be used, or as well as how it would not be used. We do not sell your information to any third parties. Now, we do have an analytics tool. We've got over 20 years of maintenance data, more than any other asset management and maintenance management company in the world, because we've been doing this since 1999 with everything being in the cloud, before the cloud was even really a term at that point. So we do take certain data, like related to maintenance and different asset types, and we do trend analytics, but all of the data is de-identified so that there's nothing that ties it to any specific organization or individual. But your data is never sold or given to other organizations in any way, shape, or form.
Very good. Also, I don't know if we would want to, but if we choose to, can we self-host the software? Meaning no cloud, for example?
Yeah, we don't have an option for doing an on-premises installation, because our software is designed specifically to be cloud hosted. Now, again, you do have access to it 24/7 and can download your data at any time. but it's not set up to where it could be installed on an internal server or an in-house machine to be accessed in that way.
Okay. I think I have one more question. Can our IT personnel get access to the database back end for custom integrations?
So I want to make sure that I'm understanding you correctly. When you're saying custom integrations, are you talking about, like, for example, having Asset Essentials connect to your BS&A software? Or having it share information with, say, if you had a fuel system for your fleet department, being able to push and pull information as far as mileage or runtime hours?
That's
or
correct.
possibly a SCADA system?
Yes.
Is that what you're talking about?
Yes.
So we do have the tools for that. We have two different ways that you can share information with our system. One is called our connector tool, and it's basically our API that has already had some middleware built for it, where you can transfer information through a CSV or flat file. So you can push data to other systems, and you can pull data from systems that can also use those types of files. It can even be set up and automated so that it'll run on a particular schedule. Now, what also comes with the connector tool is the API, the REST API, which is a piece of software that will allow your IT department or whoever you would have that would design the middleware software for the two systems to talk. They would have access to the API, all of the documentation, along with the ability to determine which endpoints they want to use within the software, and they can actually have a real-time connection between Asset Essentials and any other system that can also utilize an API.
All right, very good. That's all the questions I have. Thank you very much.
You're very
Appreciate
welcome.
So, Elaine she just touched on something too. Very quickly, I wanted to remind everybody. Again, the software we're talking about utilizing here, possibly utilizing here, won't only just capture information on water main breaks and whatnot, but this also helps us better track preventive maintenance for all of our vehicle fleets and so forth then too. So we can actually, track like per the mileage when everything needs oil changes, tires rotated, wiper blades and so forth. The other I was reading up in here too is just obviously you can check some of your inventory. Where do you stand with how much oil you've purchased and when it's time to replenish those. You can't just look at a shelf. You'll have something that actually tells you if you're tracking how much you've been using to tell you when to get more of the same products and when to shop for it. It also schedule reports to run automatically, tracking material, labor costs on each vehicle as well too. Because I know when I'm paying bills here and so forth all the time, I constantly, it gets my attention when I see some of the bigger ones where vehicles are being serviced, and how often did that one particular squad car or fire truck or whatever, public work vehicle, how many times has that thing been repaired, and at what point are we addressing that issue and stuff then too. So this is more than just data with regard to work orders and whatnot, but it's data that helps us best understand how we're spending our money, and how we're using our money for maintenance purposes and stuff then too.
To be able to make better decisions.
That's right. So. Well, I tell you, at the end of the day, it's all about initial savings. It's a great question. Do you see a lot of initial savings? No. I mean, let's say put it this way, like those thermostats that are on the wall, those are all controlled by a computer as well. And a lot of times, that same software that's running that, because we just redid all that kind of software replacement just recently, we're updating all that right now. They'll tell us how all the units are working on the roof, not just the thermostat itself. So it's more of a function in how you do business and so forth then too. You're more efficient because you've got these tools available at at a finger touch instead of wasting man hours. And we staff pretty lean around here, the guys will tell you that, so it's like, we want to actually be able to work smarter with using better tools. And I think, exactly, that's where it's coming back to, yes.
Well, there's also long-term savings, like with the ability to plan, right, for improvements. So we're being proactive and also trying to foresee where we need to either scale back or be a little bit more aggressive. But also I think the engagement part with the community, I think, is an added bonus as well. Because, I mean, the department heads and even their staff can't be everywhere, cover every inch of the village, but as residents, you have the ability now to report an issue, and now it's brought to their attention as well. So you don't have ducks, like you had mentioned, swimming in a pond. Exactly.
Trustees,
Exactly.
So trustees, any other questions right now? So Joyce, we've got a hard number is what we're looking at then too?
We have two hard numbers. One is for 3 modules, one is for the enterprise module. It's
Okay.
our enterprise, which is all modules.
Okay.
So it's up to the board which direction you want to go.
All right. Anybody else have any more questions? William, Elaine, thanks much for being with us this evening. We're going to talk more about this, and we'll try and make a decision on this real soon then, okay?
All right, thank you very much for giving us the chance to talk with you again for a little bit.
Sure.
Thank you all. And we'll speak to over the next week or so. Okay.
I think Will's having a little bit of an issue. He just messaged me with his internet connection, getting in and out of the Zoom meeting. So I'm sure he'll be reaching out to you as well.
Fine. We'll talk to you soon.
Excellent. All right.
Thanks,
all right.
Well, you have a good rest of your evening.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. I'll take care.
All right. Thank you very much. Anything else? No, we've covered that. So let's go to the Human Resource and Insurance. Trustee Murphy.
I have a request to approve contracting professional services from HR Philosophy to represent the Village of Alsip Human Resources Department. HR Philosophy has municipal experience and is owned by former HR manager Shanae Hunter. Mayor Ryan has evaluated the HR department after years of developing forms, practices, and frequency of in-office interactions with the employees and retirees. The mayor is recommending this department be overseen by a professional contractor as opposed to a full-time, non-represented employee.
So I had put this in the packet, and at the same time, I had my hands full today with some other activities, and I wanted to do a little bit more on this. While these are professional services, I think this is a very good service to utilize because of her familiarity with the village. At the same time, I want to just maybe take an extra week or so to look at what benefit there may be if there's anybody available yet, too. Because if we were to employ somebody here part-time, my whole thing was just, I don't think it's a full-time position. But my thing was, based on the quote that we got from HR Philosophy was availability Monday through Friday, email-wise, but in-house was 8 hours, basically two days a week with 4 hours each day in-house. And I don't know if that's enough frequency for us and so forth. So I'm going to look into the concept of a part-time employee instead. I want to see if we have more frequency here, as opposed to email-wise.
I agree with that thought process. I mean, just because after reading it, it's like twice a week for 4 hours. I don't know personally if that really.
That's what I'm saying.
At least, weighing it out, taking a look, are there opportunities for part-timers?
Mm-hmm.
Just so that we had somebody on site where you could, what their hours, when they're going to be here, when they're available.
And I don't want to disregard this yet, but I want to look at this a little bit harder. And this just came about last week, and I'm working on this right now. So today, like I said, my whole day was kind of obstructed today, but tomorrow I'm back on this again. So I'll come back to the board, at least by next week, we can talk more about it and stuff then too.
I just have a comment. So I was trying to digest this. So in essence, we're going to eliminate a full-time HR professional. That's what you're recommending.
Yes.
And I would be against it. I still think there's value in having a full-time HR staff person, just so that way you don't know when an issue might come up with an employee, whether it's someone, I'll use myself as an example. I was a working mother. I was pregnant while I was working, and imagine an issue comes up and I don't have someone there readily available to file a grievance, or if there's, something I need to disclose and so forth like that. I think that, there's still value in having a full-time staff person. And I don't know if any other municipality has gone that route with the consultant, and also with consultants as well. They're usually utilized for project-based work. And as a 1099 contractor, you really can't mandate their hours because they're not full-time staff. I mean, they can go to like mandatory meetings perhaps and so forth like that. But again, I would be against it. I think that there's still value in having a full-time HR professional on site.
You know what? That's why I'm looking at the idea of a, again, I don't believe it, me personally, I think there's a couple of soft hours in the day, unless they're going to cover some other territory, unless they're like partially have an accounting background or something like that. But I can tell you, I've been here, I run operations here, and I oversee all the, as much as I can, and I don't know that, especially after we've had all the improved policies, paperwork, and everything else I mentioned in here, I don't know if there's enough to keep somebody solid. We're all, how do I say this? It's like, you want to see everybody having more than enough on their plate, and getting a full workday out of somebody. And that's why I'm saying, instead of having just a contractor is fine, but that's why I'm looking more into the opportunity of maybe having like similar like we have with the AP department right now. Accounts payable is busy when she's here, and she puts in a solid maybe 29, 30-hour work week every week.
So are we analyzing every employee with that same metric? And I still think that an HR department or an HR full-time person is in favor, like, I guess worker rights, right? Like, to me, that's what it screams, is that, honoring and valuing employees and their right to have a professional that can hear any grievance that they have. And it might not be like someone coming in every hour and so forth like that. But again, I think there's corporations, and I have to, again, look at other municipalities that have HR departments or how many staff members they have. It just doesn't make sense to me.
Well, if you had somebody here 5 days a week, let's say 9 till 3, there should be plenty of time for somebody to come in and talk to and file a report or whatever the case may be.
I already mentioned that I disagree, so hopefully the board can, also chime in and so forth. But I think that there is still value in having a full-time person. And again, if we're going to micromanage what the HR role is, are we also looking at other professionals in that same manner, if they're also consumed with tasks and so forth like that? But again, it's also what is the value added to the position, to the village, and also to the employees that we have here.
Well, no, I'm not micromanaging anything. That person's under my direction, and so I'm personally, I'm there. I'm supposed to be there to witness what they do and make sure that the assignments, the task assigned, that they've got plenty of it to do all day long too. And I just feel there's a couple of soft hours there. That's why I'm looking at what I am.
When I was taking a look at the proposal here thus far, in the past, we've had a full-time HR person. Total costs were probably about $50 an hour. And with this contract, with 8 hours weekly, it amounts to about $90 an hour for this contract. I'm sorry, $125 an hour, because there's 416 hours worked annually at the 8 hours. And then any additional hours are going to be billed at a $90 hourly rate.
Mm-hmm.
So it seems that we're paying more for less based upon the provisions of this contract as presented.
Well, that's what I'm saying. First off, you've got access to that person Monday through Friday, 8 to 4 or whatever the case may be. And they're only in-house, though, 8 hours a week.
The problem is that you may have access to them, but that invokes the $90 hourly once that 8 hours is eclipsed for that week.
I agree with you.
They're here in the office. If I communicate with them, email, and they do research or whatever, I would think that that would be in addition to, because if we're going to publish an established Tuesday and Thursday from X to Y times, it wouldn't be fair to our employees not to have that person staffed here because they responded to a communication via email, telephone, however. So it seems to me on the outset that we're certainly going to be eclipsing that $52,000 proposal and start encumbering a $90 an hour fee. And again, going back to what we paid for when we had a person fully staffed here, it just doesn't seem that we're getting the same bang for the buck. And I appreciate what your position is, that maybe their industry level isn't as high as 40 hours a week. You know I don't.
Well, that's why I'm not standing on what was written on the agenda. I want to see if I can't get a part-time person to do this instead.
And it would also seem that at this point, once we look at this, especially at the dollar amount, I mean, if we're going to do it something like this, then I think that we'd have to create the RFP or RFQ.
I couldn't hear Trustee Tan.
We would have to do it through RFP or RFQ?
Oh, yeah, it's over. But again, these are professional services, and I'm trying to see what we can do. And you're right, at least with the request for qualifications, absolutely. Joyce, you had a question?
I just wanted to make a comment that from my perspective of what I've seen, this is very, I want to say seasonal. As an example, we're going to have a rash of new employees that are seasonal employees coming in, which are going to require drug screens, background checks, so forth. There's going to be a bunch of work there to do for an HR position.
Mm-hmm.
There's also the insurance contracts are starting to renew.
And open enrollment.
And open enrollment in October. And that's besides if you are actually going to run like a health program or anything like that. I think it goes in waves, and I think there are moments when it's like, what do I do now? There's plenty of files that need to be cleaned up and straightened up. I mean, there's plenty of work there. It's just how fast you want to get it done. But there's periods of time when there's quite a bit of work to be done.
Mm-hmm.
And so I don't think it's just a steady, 8 hours or 12 hours a week or something. I think it goes in waves. So.
Yeah.
So in those high points too, according to this, the meter's running, and it could
absolutely
balance out to where you have a full-time person.
Right.
Okay.
So I don't have a person yet, so that's why we have to revisit it. So I'm going to be working on that.
So in the meantime, we'll be posting the HR position that's going to be vacant, or?
I'm sorry, what?
Or?
I'm sorry, what?
What are the next steps then? I know Charles, I believe,
In a week.
What's next steps then? Are we going to post the
know.
position? Like, we should still be actively looking for someone?
Well, I feel, let's put it this way. We can, currently, the way you know what? We can actually do that by consensus, actually, because we're not voting to do anything different unless we go to a part-time scenario. And right now, it is a full-time position, and if the board wants to keep somebody in there full-time, we can just keep it status quo. You guys, why don't just keep it? Want to take we take a consensus on that to keep it status quo? That would just make my search a lot easier. Let's put it that way.
But I think it's also the perfect time to consider it. So.
Okay. So let's get
the idea isn't without merit. I applaud the effort.
Mm-hmm.
It's just that Charles is leaving in a week, and so to not have that resource or a phone that our employees can call, and I don't know.
So, Clerk, my ask would be, do we keep the full-time position of HR manager status quo?
Okay, so roll call number 1 is for a consensus to keep the HR position a full-time position as it is right now.
I have a question before we do this. Do we consider this in the interim until that person is hired, if it goes that route? Because there's going to be a vacancy. We're not going to hire anybody in a week.
We've used HR philosophy before in the same capacity, and certainly we can do that again. You know, I mean, it just as a fill-in.
Yeah, I think it's important that we would at least
Have some kind
Fill
of
the gap,
continuity.
have somebody here, and who better?
Yeah, I mean, Shanae is wonderfully received by most people from what I hear, so.
So do you have 2 consensuses? One to keep her on, and then one for the other one? I don't know.
Well, I believe that she's been,
We approved it once before, and it's never been rescinded.
Okay.
I actually rescinded her service at some point, you know, that kind of thing, so, yeah. No, so just, we want to continue with a full-time HR manager.
Okay. Trustee Dalzell.
yes.
Trustee Juarez is absent. Trustee McLaughlin.
No.
Trustee Murphy.
No.
Trustee Navas-Barza.
Yes.
Trustee Peretta.
No.
So that's 3-2. You do not have consensus.
Okay. I'm gonna look for both then. You know, or I'll look for the part-time anyway, let's put it that way. Yeah, I'll get to work on it right away.
We only have one HR person.
Mhm. Yep. Yeah,
Thank you. Thank you. No, I'm very upset, so.
one person that would oversee, you know, and I tell you, some communities have an HR person, some don't.
I'm thinking that we have a whole department, but we talking one person?
To oversee paperwork for about 140 employees. So, next, it was the Special Committee Reports, Economic Development, Trustee Navas-Barza.
I have no report.
Oh, what was that?
I have no report.
Oh, okay. And then we had Village Properties, Trustee McLaurin.
No report this evening. Well, actually, you know what, Mayor? I actually would like to bring it up. Noticing bills that have been coming through lately, and I think it's a perfect time to discuss it. Renewal of fertilizer.
Stopped it.
Oh,
I
okay.
refused it. I will not pay that bill. That bill has not been shopped. I felt it was overpriced, and until it's requoted, I will not approve that bill.
Okay, well, I was just going to bring, I know I have at least 3 sitting in my inbox right now. And that only, is it covering, I think, each firehouse and water. And I think if we're going to do something like that, we need to be more encompassing and, like you said, quote it. I mean, like I said, there's nothing there to dictate. I mean, one, how much, you know, what kind of a price increase are we paying on this, and...
You know, sometimes, you know, we do it on our own house. When you have, like, just for lack of a better word, it's like a Chemlon that comes out and sprays your grass down and so forth, you know what I mean? You know, how often do we speak to these folks? How often do we know that we're getting a competitive number? You know, with anything that goes over, and I don't have the ordinance in front of me right now, but anything over certain amounts, we're supposed to have at least 3 prices. It might not be over the $20,000 threshold to qualify for bidding, but, you know, we should have at least 3 quotes. So I sent a rejection back to the property manager, to Mr. Early, and I know he's on vacation for a couple of days, but I don't mind paying one bill if one bill got, you know, if one application was done. but I want all that rebid, or requoted.
Okay, yeah, because I know, if I'm remembering correctly off the top of my head, one of the firehouses alone was over $1,100.
Yep.
Second, the other one was $900.
Right.
And I believe, I'd say a water, whichever one location it was that I saw was in the vicinity of $1,000. And that's just for 4 applications of fertilizer.
No, I think Roger was off today, but I'm waiting for him to come back to work, and I'll talk to him about when he comes back.
Yeah, that's all I have under village
All
properties,
right.
Mayor.
Ordinance and legislation, Trustee Peretta.
No report, Mayor.
All right. Planning and zoning and licenses, Trustee Juarez. I'm sorry, committee.
I have that one this evening, Mayor. And so there will be the usual presentation of a list of licenses dated April 11th, 2022 through April 22nd of 2022. And on that topic, I would like to welcome MI Wholesaling to the village. They will be located at 12559 South Holiday Drive, and they are identified as an online retailer. Would also like to welcome Dart Casting Incorporated at 4101 West 124th Place here in Alsip, and they're a manufacturer of aluminum die castings. And that's all I have, Mayor.
I think Dark Casting was here. That might have just been a,
Yeah, they've been here.
it's probably a
long time.
renewal.
It was listed as new.
Oh, maybe he's adding on.
Got a whole new packet here.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Anybody else have any presentations, petitions, or communications? Any unfinished business? Any new business? I need a short closed session with everybody, just to give you a quick update on something. This would be the appointment, regarding the appointment, employment, compensation, discipline, performance, or dismissal of specific employees of the public body or legal counsel for the public body, including hearing testimony on a complaint lodged against an employee of the public body or against legal counsel for the public body to determine its validity pursuant to 5 ILCS 120/2, Chapter 1. Can I get a motion and a second to do that?
So moved.
Second.
Roll call number 2 to adjourn to closed session. Trustee Dalzell.
Yes.
Trustee Juarez is absent. Trustee McLaughlin.
Yes.
Trustee Murphy.
Yes.
Trustee Navas Barza.
Yes.
Trustee Peretta.
Yes.
Motion carries to adjourn to closed session.
Thank you very much. So we're going to adjourn to closed session. The time now is 9:02. And I just ask that we can stay here in the boardroom, but I'd ask for the public to please clear the room for we have a short private conversation here. That's all. Thank you. Enjoy the rest of your night, folks.